Yes, welcome back, my friends. Fresh meat for the Empire. That's right, welcome to this Warhammer Fantasy Skaven army blog video. Okay, so what is this? What are you looking at? So, ever since the glorious return of Warhammer Fantasy Battles in the form of the Old World, I, like many others, have been digging through my lost and forgotten collection of miniatures from centuries past. No, so silliness aside, with the return of Warhammer Fantasy and the release of the Old World and all the PDFs being available online if you know the places to look, I, like many others, have been digging through my miniatures to basically see what needs fixing, what needs touching up, and what projects need actually finishing or indeed starting if they were never finished in the first place. Now, back in the day, I was a massive Skaven fan. Shout out to the UnderEmpire online forums. Back in 2011 when I first got into Skaven, I posted on there all the damn time. So honestly, the forum all but dead. There is a memory of it online. I've put a link in the description box down below, but honestly it has been a blast going through my old miniatures and seeing what relics remain from a bygone age. In other words, my models have been abandoned, broken, forgotten, sold on eBay, bought on eBay, covered in dust and grime and rubbish, and they're going to need a lot of tender loving care before they're actually ready for the old world or any form of Warhammer Fantasy Battle, let alone Kings of War or Age of Sigmar or any of that rubbish, right? So to start this off right, I'm not going to bore you all to death with painting tutorial videos and all that. This is about keeping a log of me renovating my models, and the easiest way I've found that is to start with three. So I'm starting with the Warlock engineers. I'm starting with a Plague Priest, who was originally from the Screaming Bell / Plague Furnace kit, but I put him on a base. And I'm starting with a Battle Standard Bearer, because what these three models so nicely represent is the three stages of this army that I need to work through. You've got models like the Warlock Engineer who are all but finished, right? I painted them up to the best of my ability 10 years ago, based them, hard coated them, everything, right? You've got the Plague Priest, who is all but finished, but maybe has had a couple of damage bits that need repairing and touching up, right? And then you've got the Battle Standard Bearer, a model that I never finished. I built it, I assembled it, I even started painting it, but I didn't have the warp stone in me to take that project to its natural conclusion, right? So over the last few weeks, I have finished these three models, and now my little budding army actually has three character units just ready to go. The Warlock Engineer, the Plague Priest, and the Battle Standard Bearer. So let's break these down and I'll talk about what I did. So the Warlock Engineer, nice and easy. I touched up some of the metals, I did all the bone effects. I found a wonderful way for painting bone and skulls, so I might do a tutorial on that at some point, but it's not a promise, right? I did all the warp lightning effects, so the green of the stones and the power cables. I didn't touch the fire coming out of the gun. I didn't feel there was a need. It might go without saying, but all my models are sort of heavily customized. It's not too clear in the actual video, but the bases, they used to be brown rimmed, and I just painted them black because I prefer that look. And I touched up the shadows and I touched up the highlights, and I basically just made him look like how I would want to paint a model up to a good standard today. The actual Warlock on screen is from the Island of Blood kit from back in the day. Lovely kit, by the way. Can't recommend it enough. GW sadly no longer produce it, but what a bargain back in the day when they did. I think I've had about two over the years, maybe three. I've got a still sealed one. That's in cold storage for when I get my children into the hobby one day, because it's a perfect sort of time capsule. But going on to the Plague Priest again, not much to change. Like the white of the robes was fine. I just needed to go in and add some shadows. Same for the stonework on the base. Like I did not touch the stonework on the base at all. That was all fine. It's all mainly the bones, the horns. The actual top of the staff, I'd converted this to have Queek Head Taker's like battle pick that he uses. But that since broke off. That's in the bits box somewhere now. So I reaffixed the original head, pinned that in place, and then of course painted up the warpstone to look like warpstone, the ropes, the bindings, all of it. The Plague Priest as a model and as a character in Warhammer Fantasy 8th, murderous with spells like Plague or the one that reduces toughness on enemy soldiers. For the life of me, that no longer exists in the legacy rules. We've got 3 spells. We used to have like 13, ironically, and now we've gone down to 3. So I don't know how Games Workshop figured that one out. But we do have access to spells that previously we never did, so that's really cool. I also had fun doing the shadowing on the sleeve on his right arm because that was something I used to never really pick out. I used to never blackline my models or anything like that. And then finally we have the battle standard bearer, and again I had to paint all of this because he was not finished at all back in the day. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with, starting a project, getting so far and going, I just can't do it. I can't complete it. But now as an adult, I can, and I'm not intimidated by festooning an object in details. Because I think that was part of the thing. The bottom half of the Battle Standard Bearer, that banner is from the Beastmen Ungors kit. I'm pretty sure it's the Ungors kit, which is already covered in skulls and teeth and all this stuff, right? But then you've got like an Empire battle standard top on there. You've got a Skaven mace on the other end. You've got a wizard hourglass filled with like a warpstone powder. You've got just detail after detail after detail chucked on there. And when you're still relatively early in your hobby and career, modeling, great fun. Painting, oh my goodness, it's that meme of the little girl crying because she's actually having to paint her miniatures. But this is the thing, and the actual Battlestar Bearer himself, I converted this guy out of a clan rat base using a torso from an Empire state troop, one of the old plastic model ones. I sculpted the shoulders with the chainmail and the pointed shoulder pads. And then the helmet was, I was going for like a closed helm bassinet that you might like see in the medieval era, with my incredibly primitive green stuff, and the top spike is from an Empire halberd, because that's that sort of top. Almost, it's almost like a metal mohawk, isn't it? That's a very Skaven thing, but this is very sharp and angular and very unique to the dudes that I was making at the time. Of course, he has his tactical rock, and of course, he has a skull on the base, which seems incredibly impractical, and that's good because it is. However, he does stand out 1,000 yards away as the battle standard bearer for the Force. And I just like used a brush. I just brush painted on some patterns and symbols. I used to have like a logo I had for my force, which is that bottom symbol, because it almost looked like a J with the two dags intersecting. But I'm just going off on a tangent now. So these guys are all mounted on 20mm bases, which keeps them in line with Warhammer Fantasy 8th edition, but not in line with Warhammer Fantasy the Old World. I honestly don't care. It's a legacy faction, and it just means I can play them in both games. Ranking up wise, as you can see, they rank up absolutely fine, so get dabbed on anyone that says that these models can't rank up, because you're wrong. And that is about it. So what comes next? Well, I've already got some other footage recorded from other models I've been repairing, starting, and building from scratch. So you'll just have to stay tuned, my friends. Thank you all for watching, my brothers, and I'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye.